Welcome to another bonus episode. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, so you are getting way more shows than you normally do. I'm guessing there won't be too many complaints. Everyone just wants to think about the Ohio State-Oregon game, so we're going to let you think about the Ohio State-Oregon game. We'll let you hear from a bunch of the Oregon Ducks. They had a lot of interesting stuff to say during their midweek interviews this week. We'll have another show a little later on with more interviews with the Ohio State Buckeyes. But for now, let's start with the Oregon Ducks, and let's start with their head coach, Dan Lanning. He is a man of few words in these interviews, so no, I'm not chopping these answers short. He just tends to talk in 8-second sound bites for whatever reason. But here's the first one. What makes JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer so dangerous on the edge?
Yeah, I mean, they're great speed to power guys. They change their technique a lot on the edge. There's times that they're upfield. There's times they close. But they play with great violence, and they run to the ball.
If you're just listening and not watching and wondering why there's a bunch of background noise, by the way, we are in the Phoenix airport right now, so apologies if you're hearing announcements, people, whatever, in the background. We're doing what we can. Next up, how about Ohio State's linebacker unit? Not a unit that the Ohio State Buckeyes fan base has necessarily felt tremendous about all season. What does Dan Lanning see with them?
Just really sound. There's a reason these guys don't give up explosive plays. They tackle really well in space. They do a good job communicating. They don't have technique errors or scheme errors.
Dan Lanning at this point has coached in a number of very big games, including a couple last year against the Washington Huskies. Is this week any different for him with the high stakes and the national spotlight?
I try to prepare for each game the same, and certainly everyone knows this game, and what its implications are, but it is a game, right? It's a game. It's the next game. That's why it's the most important one.
One of the defining factors of the 2024 Ohio State team is all the guys who could have left for the NFL draft who chose to return. That is true also for some members of the Oregon Ducks, including Jordan Birch, a defensive end who had 2.5 sacks last week against Michigan State. How big was his decision to return after last season?
Yeah, I think you just get honest feedback from the resources you have, and also, knowing that there was something left on the table for him. He felt like there's a little bit more that he could tap into. I think you're seeing a lot of that this season from him.
And finally, one of the biggest challenges for anyone facing Ohio State this year is figuring out how to stop or at least control the Ohio State wide receiver unit. That passing game has some very dynamic playmakers. And one of Oregon's top outside corners, Jabar Muhammad, listed at just 5'10". And here's a little hint. If you're listed at 5'10", generally you're more like 5'8" or 5'9". So he's going to be going up against bigger receivers. So what kind of challenge is that going to present?
Yeah, that's where playing the ball is so important this week. And certainly they have great size. We got to get great rush, and rush and coverage have to work together this week.
Now from a question about Jabbar Muhammad to Jabbar Muhammad. He was asked, what about Jeremiah Smith is going to make covering him a challenge?
Yeah, all of them, they're all explosive. They all make 50-50 balls look more their way than others. They're good at the catch point. They're good within their routes and things like that. So we got to be on our P's and Q's and go in there ready to compete.
The secret is out about Jeremiah Smith. It has not been a secret around Columbus for quite a while, but nationally, I think everyone's sort of figuring it out as well. He's had a bunch of really highlight reel catches. What are the keys to defending a guy who can do that?
Yeah, just being strong at the catch point. We all know that, like I said earlier, he makes those 50-50 balls look like they're more his than anybody. So just being strong at the catch point, working it throughout the week, putting myself in those positions throughout the week so that when Saturday comes, I can make a play on the ball.
The person in charge of getting the ball to those dynamic Ohio State wide receivers, well, that's Ohio State quarterback Will Howard. What has Jabar Muhammad seen from Will Howard so far this season on film?
Yeah, he can run. He's also good on his legs. He can throw the deep ball pretty well. And he just runs that offense really, really well. He looks comfortable, and nothing seems to faze him. So we got to get after him a little bit.
You mentioned this earlier, but big games like this are not exactly brand new to the Oregon program by any means. They played in a couple of very big ones last year against the Washington Huskies. So how do you handle a big game week like this?
Really, honestly, just taking it day by day. Just being where our feet are right now. We know that, it's going to be an unreal atmosphere come Saturday. We're looking forward to the fans being there and everything like that, but just taking it day by day right now.
There are a bunch of interesting ties between the players in different programs. One of Oregon's defensive backs was a teammate of Will Howard's at Kansas State. And Jabbar Muhammad, well, he played for Jim Knowles on the defense at Oklahoma State. So has he been able to help out at all with the offense this week?
Honestly, it seems like when I've seen a little bit of it seemed like he changed some of the stuff. He was more in your face, more aggressive. He still is, but some stuff has changed. But if Dillon asks me, I'll be able to help him a little bit.
Next up is Oregon quarterback Dillon Gabriel. He was asked, what makes Ohio State one of the best defenses in the country?
Yeah, just extremely talented, play extremely hard, and have produced. So I guess when you combine all three of those, you see it in game, and that's why they're putting up the numbers they are. So, very intriguing to watch, and they've done a great job.
One of the things that has made the Buckeyes so effective this year is they've really been able to limit big plays. No 30-yard plays allowed all season long. So how do they do that? What allows them to limit big plays in the way that they do?
Yeah, I think they've just been really good on first and second down, which allows them to do what they do, and they're really good at it. So, like I said, when you help yourself out that way, I think they all three levels work really well together. And I think that's why they've been doing well.
When you're going into a game between top teams like this, what are the keys going to be going into the game?
I think going back to the basics of winning, for sure. But, of course, in these atmospheres as well, experience is a huge thing. I think, the turnover battle, third downs, fourth downs, efficiency, and then scoring in the red area. I think when you combine all those three, you can look at it, and usually that's, the main three categories of winning. But, I think just, naturally there's a lot of energy and hype for everyone. But the best, team at focusing and honing in on, their job, usually does a great job in the game as well.
The Ducks are coming in off of a comfortable win over the Michigan State Spartans, but it was not a perfect win by any means. Dillon Gabriel threw 2 interceptions in the red zone last week. What does he learn from that?
Yeah, just being a lot smarter and smart aggressive when in the red area. I think, I got away with one against UCLA. It was a very similar pass, and then I didn't get away with it against Michigan State on that, first one. And the second one, just, forcing it when we could live to, play another down or two. And, I think that just keeps going back to, being smart aggressive and finding the balance between that.
One of the metrics you hear people talk about with the Oregon Ducks is getting the ball out in 2.5 seconds. I feel that's important. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands and into the hands of one of their playmakers down the field. So why is that important to this team, especially this week?
Yeah, I think it's just decisiveness. That combination with, producing at a high level. Usually when you're getting the ball out on that time, you know exactly where to go and are playing, quarterback on time, which helps everyone around. Whether it's the receiver getting the ball in the hand quicker or, O-line not having to protect as long, and then, not sitting back there and holding the ball forever. So I think it helps everyone, and it's something, you have to harp on as an offense.
Dillon Gabriel is in his 6th year as a college football quarterback, and he's played in a bunch of big games, but a number 2 versus number 3, nationally televised, this is going to be a really big game. There's a lot on the line this weekend. So what is it like to get ready for a game of that magnitude?
Yeah, it's fun. That's why you play the game. That's why we all, want to be a part of teams that, win and go do, to the last game of the season. But, it's taking it one step at a time. If there's anything I've realized through, my 5, now 6 year of playing is like, you got to take it 1 week at a time, and this is the next step. And, of course, the atmosphere, the, college football in general, this is what you dream of. But, you got a job to do. You got to execute. You got to play hard and find a way to win. So, of course, we live for it. And I think you just have to go back to, the basics of the process and preparing the right way.
Next up, another name to know on the Oregon offense. It's tight end Terrance Ferguson. He's been at Oregon for quite a while. He's actually been there long enough that he took part in the 2021 game between the Buckeyes and Ducks in Ohio Stadium. So what does he remember about that game?
Going into that game, they were really good. They have a lot of talent on that roster, just like they always do. And so just kind of the same thing with our team. We do have talent, and going out there and just playing the brand of football that we like. Last game, obviously the key to our success in 21 was running the ball. And that's something we're going to replicate on Saturday, and something that we're big on over here. So,
mentioned those 2 picks that Dillon Gabriel threw in the red zone last week. How did Ferguson help Dillon Gabriel bounce back from those 2 interceptions early last week?
He does the same thing for me when, I drop a pass or mess up, because everybody messes up. And I think the biggest thing for him is just reminding him who he is. He's the best in the nation. He plays like it, and when he's himself, like, no one can stop him. So just remind him of who he is and all the work we put in. And, he's a guy who snaps back. He's a veteran. He's done it. He's been there. So for him, it's pretty easy for a guy like that with the mentality and the time he's been able to do that before. So.
One of the biggest things the Buckeyes have going for them this weekend is it's a veteran team, guys who've been there, seen it, done it, all that before. It's also true for Oregon. They've got a lot of veteran guys who've been a part of big games like this, either at Oregon or at previous stops in their career. So what does it mean to have a veteran team like that going into a game like this?
Yeah, 100%. I think you come to places like Oregon or where a lot of these guys have came from to playing games like this, and having the experience that we have on the offense and the defense. I think it just makes us comfortable. We're going to know it's going to be loud. Stuff's going to go wrong on Saturday. And just knowing how to respond to that. So I think having those guys have that experience and not folding when stuff goes wrong, or, there's going to be highs and there's going to be lows. It's a roller coaster, especially in big games when you're playing a good team.
Terrance Ferguson is going to be a threat in the passing game, but he also might be an asset in the pass pro game. He may be tasked to help out with chipping some of the defensive ends for the Buckeyes. What makes those Ohio State defensive ends, JT Tuimoloau, Jack Sawyer, so dynamic?
Yeah, they're elite athletes. They're really strong. They come off the edge. They have good pass rush moves. I think that's kind of where they make their money, but they're good at getting off blocks, and that's what they get paid to do, at the edge position. We play a lot of good edges. Honestly, I compare them to the guys we have. You guys got like Mateo, who are elite pass rushers, Tatum, Jordan Burch. Those guys are the best that we practice against every day. So, it's nothing new to us when there's good players across the line.
It is unusual that a tight end is the leading receiver in terms of yards per catch for a team, but that is the case with Terrance Ferguson. He actually leads the Ducks in yards per catch among guys with 10 or more catches this season. So how is he able to be a big play guy at tight end?
Yeah, 100%. Honestly, it's my guys down the field blocking for me. When I catch the ball, I'm going to try to make the first guy miss, and then the other guys are turning up and bodying up. So, it's easy to have explosive plays when people are blocking downfield for you. So I give all the credit to the wide receivers that are, explosive players, but they're putting their nose on somebody for everybody. So I think that's kind of been the success of myself. And then, working in certain things with Dillon, and I think he's done a great job of putting me in great positions, and the coaches. So really just the other guys.
Ferguson is someone who could have left for the NFL after last season, but was playing in a game like this, the opportunity to play in a number 2 versus number 3 kind of game, a part of that decision to come back?
Yeah, I definitely think so. The biggest reason I came back is, I leaned on it, prayed about it, and a big decision was like, I wanted to play to win something that's worth winning, and big games like that are like the staples of seasons that have where you win like that, so games like this, and then further on down the season, there's going to be big games, and I wanted to come back to playing those games. I want to play against NFL competition, and that's one of the best rise to the top, so.
And the last guy I want to let you hear from is Ajani Cornelius. That name maybe sounds familiar for people who follow Ohio State recruiting particularly closely. He was actually a player at the University of Rhode Island a couple of years ago, a starting tackle there. Went into the transfer portal, was highly sought after. The Buckeyes went after him. He ended up choosing Oregon instead. So you're going to get to hear a little bit about that decision in a minute. But first, Ajani Cornelius, how has he seen the offensive line improve over the last few weeks from the Ducks?
Gotcha. Just our chemistry is definitely built. We got some guys moving around, and just getting those reps in practice consistently. So just the gel kind of, and just the communication with everything with Dillon has just improved tremendously. It's been really good to see it all come together.
And finally, this is a chance to hear from Ajani Cornelius. He had a choice between the Buckeyes and the Ducks. Ended up choosing Oregon last year. Has been a starter for them now. Buckeyes ended up getting Josh Simmons. That worked out just fine for them as well. But what made Ajani Cornelius decide to go with the Ducks instead of the Bucks?
Well, we talked about this before, but over all the schools, Oregon was my gut choice. You know what I mean? Like when I came here, just talking to Coach Lanning and talking to all the players, specifically Marcus and the dudes in the O-line, just this place was clearly home for me.
That'll do it for now. We're going to have another bonus show for you a little later on. We've got a live show coming up today as well. That is coming from the Phoenix airport. We're doing our very best to give you content because we know there's a lot of interest in this game. A lot of people looking to have stuff to listen to, watch, read, all that kind of stuff. And the great place to find all of that is at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Tony, Kevin, and I on our way out to Oregon as we speak. We've had an all-day chat on our board with the three of us answering questions from readers and discussing all sorts of stuff about the game, nitty-gritty details about the offensive line, but also just, hey, what's the best airport meal you guys have ever had? Lots of different fun conversations there. That's all on the Huddle Board presented by Jeff Ruby's Columbus. If you want to be a part of that, you got to be a member at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And lucky you, this is a great time to do it. Our first month of membership is just $4.99. Get access to the board, get access to all of our great insider content. Tony, Kevin, and I covering the team, Mark covering recruiting, our whole team of X's and O's gurus there, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. And of course at YouTube.com/BuckeyeHuddle as well. That'll do it for now. We'll be back with more content a little later on.